watching Gearz, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
Hey, welcome to Gearz. You know, a while back, we started a build-up on this 81 Camaro to show just how easy it is to build the car that you've always wanted just by utilizing the vast aftermarket that's out there for these cars. So the first thing that we did is tear off all that old ugly front sheet metal and replace it with a much more desirable split bumper front end. Then we rolled out that stock front subframe and replaced it with a Pro Touring style subframe and front suspension from Speedway Motors. This is going to give us the handling that we want. Now, the big question is, what engine's going down in here? And you guys have been really lively about this on social media. Small block Chevy, LS. Small block, LS. There's been even some Ford guys go, man, put a Coyote in there, which would be interesting, but nah, we're not going to do that. The engine that we're using is right over here. Check it out. This is the Torker LS3 from K-Tech Engines, and it's the perfect high-performance street engine to drop into a project vehicle. They start with an aluminum LS3 block, then K-Tech machines it to exacting tolerances, and then they stuff it with an LS3 crank, rods and pistons, and cam. Then on top is CNC-ported LS3 heads with special K-Tech valve covers. From the heads on up is where the stock LS3 stuff stops, because K-Tech are engine builders and not just engine assemblers, and they realize that not everybody wants the same old GM crate engine. So they will build your engine with the parts that you want. So we send them this cool Holley high-rise intake, fuel injectors, fuel rails, and throttle body. They put it all together, they got it running right, and they dynoed it, and this is how it comes with their warranty. Now, one of the cool things about using this Holley intake is you've got so many options. I mean, you can run 2 4-barrels, you can run throttle bodies, you can do a custom turbo deal, whatever you're gonna do. So if you're gonna run an LS, man, this is the intake to put on it. But the way it's set up right now, this thing's knocking on the door of 600 horsepower and about 500 foot-pounds. More than enough to get your passengers screaming when you stomp on this thing. Now, the question is, what are we gonna put behind it? Take a look. Now, obviously, the car came with an automatic transmission, but there is no way we're going to keep that in there. So we got a whole bunch of boxes there from American Powertrain that's going to allow us to shift our own gears. So let's get busy. As we've shown in the past, the install of any American Powertrain kit, Ford, Chevy, or Dodge, starts with a pilot bushing, flywheel, clutch, and pressure plate. If you have your starter, now is a good time to fit it so you can check your clearances. Now, we're using this Mazier high torque starter because it doesn't take up a lot of room, but it has a lot of power. The bell housing is where the magic really starts to happen, because this is how you connect the engine that you're using with the transmission that you want. In this case, we're putting on this big T56 Magnum 6-speed, so we have plenty of gears to shift. And this little aluminum bell housing is what's going to connect that transmission to the LS engine. The last step is the motor mounts. Now, there's something worth noting here. The original Camaro motor mount is this clamshell style motor mount, but this subframe is for a traditional small block Chevy. So this won't work. So what you're going to need to do is get this adapter plate and a traditional Chevy motor mount from Speedway Motors. That way you can bolt an LS into this subframe. All right. A little more up. All right, as you can see, even though the LS is a completely different animal than the traditional small block Chevy, the aftermarket makes it really simple to drop one and a stick into pretty much anything. But that doesn't mean the traditional small block Chevy doesn't have its place. Now, we got one of those in the Stunt Double, and it's awesome. Matter of fact, I know you've been wondering what we've been doing on that truck. So let me catch you up. Come on. As you can see, the new engine and transmission are bolted in place and looking good. And we've installed the Hydro Boost brake system and replumbed the brake lines to clean everything up and make it look good. At this point, we are in the process of installing those 3-inch cutout fender flares and this 3-inch polished stainless steel light bar, both of which we got from Tennessee Speed Sport, and both add to that cool 80s fall guy look. Now, to keep that going, we also put on those 3-inch stainless steel sidebars from LMC Truck to take that old school vibe all the way to the bottom. Now, obviously, we're gonna put some lights up here, but we're not gonna go old school for that. Now, we need something that's really gonna throw some light out there. So check this out. We got our lights from a place called Baja Designs that builds some of the brightest, most durable off-road lights on the planet. Look at this. They have the heavy-duty metal housings, the unbreakable lenses, all the good stuff. And you can get a traditional light like this, you can get a light bar, and Baja Designs will set these up to be a spotlight, a floodlight, a wide driving light, so you can literally hand build and hand design your lighting system. Now, as you can see, it also has the wiring harnesses with the relays, the switches, everything, so there's no guesswork here either. Now, obviously, these don't look like the old classic KC highlighters from back in the day, but these will kick out a heck of a lot more light. One thing that's true about gearheads, we love everything mechanical. There's not a one of you out there that wouldn't want to spend some seat time in something like this, pulling levers and pushing some dirt, right? Right. But unfortunately, most of us never get a chance to manhandle a big boy like this around. But we can do it on a much smaller scale. The incredibly popular world of scale radio control. Now, what you're looking at is the highly detailed scale trucks and construction equipment from RC 4-wheel drive. Now, this will take your existing idea of radio control vehicles and shatter it, because these are the real deal, just a little bit smaller. Need to push dirt? Well, the RC 4-wheel drive dozer weighs in at a hefty 58 pounds due to the all-metal construction. That's right, metal. The tracks, metal. The blade, metal. The ripper, metal. And the blade and ripper are run by hydraulic rams just like the real thing, so it has no problem lifting its own weight. The steering is achieved by super powerful twin electric motors that power the tracks in forward or reverse, giving you the ability to turn this thing in a 0 radius if you want. For lifting dirt, the front end loader is an astoundingly detailed model, just like the dozer, and with its all-metal construction, it's every bit as tough, and it weighs in at 45 pounds. Designed to actually work in the dirt, digging and lifting, the loader uses hydraulic steering just like its big brother. The bucket is powered by twin hydraulic rams, just like the real thing, and this provides tremendous lifting power for a model. When you add the all-wheel drive, you're going to find that there's very few things that'll stop this rig. Of course, every construction site needs a cool dump truck, and the RC 4-wheel drive, 8-wheel drive truck is the dream of the Tonka generation. With fully working suspension, all-wheel drive, high and low range, and 4-wheel steering, this thing will go anywhere. And with a hydraulic dump, it's every bit as fun to drive as the real thing. You know, it's a fact that young people just don't build models like they used to. But what they do get into is scale radio control, because this is so much more fun. And you can really learn the mechanics of how things work by messing with this kind of stuff. And everybody knows that if you build and understand something like this, eventually it will translate into building the real thing, and that keeps the industry moving forward. So if you have never experienced scale radio control, you need to check it out and see what you've been missing.
Now, Quick Tip, brought to you by E3 Spark Plugs, born to burn.
You know, a while back, most of you know that we had to bury our big collie Domino that we had for 13 years. So we've been without a shop dog for a while, and that's not a good thing, because everybody needs a dog in the shop to hang with them, especially on those late nights when you're working late and there's nobody there and you need some companionship. So let me introduce you to Ruffison, our new shop dog, or Ruffy for short. Now, we got him from a place called Sterling Collies, and he's a mixture of a German Shepherd and a Collie, or what they call a Sholly, which means he's going to be a great work dog, a great family dog, a great security dog, or even a great guard dog, which means that's the perfect shop dog. So that's the tip. If you don't have a dog in your shop, man, you are missing out, because they don't call a man's best friend for nothing, unless, of course, there's a hot dog involved. Oh, easy now. Hey, welcome back to Gearz. You know, since we've been catching you up on the Stunt Double project and the Catalog Camaro, we figured it's only fitting to bring you up to date on some of the other projects we've been working on. One is the Cheetah Evolution car, the one that we're building to be a modern version of the legendary 1964 Bill Thomas Cheetah. At this point, the car is in the capable hands of our friends at Charlotte Speed Shop, where Anthony and the boys are smoothing it out so they can squirt some paint on it. But it's not quite that simple. First, they needed to fit the doors and the latches and true up the gaps around the doors and the hood. NASA-style scoops were glassed into the hood to relieve heat and pressure. And for quarter scoops, I wanted something unique. So, starting with the factory vents off of a 65 Mustang Fastback, I cut them down to create a 2-scoop vent that'll still utilize the factory chrome trim and the grill inserts. Then these were also grafted into the body by the guys at Charlotte Speed Shop for a seamless vent. Now at this point, the guys are busy truing up the wheel wells and the body lines, and when everything's perfect, they'll shoot the paint on it, and it's gonna be awesome. In the meantime, some of you have been wondering about this 57 Jag D-Type that we got from Race Car Replicas, because there's a lot of people that would like to have a replica of a Le Mans winning race car sitting in their garage, as opposed to a Cobra or something like that. So, we've been working on this one too. Well, as you may remember, we pulled a Jag 4.2 straight 6 out of a late 60s sedan and got it ready for a rebuild. But we don't just want any Jaguar engine to go into a 57 D-Type. We wanted something with a little bit of hot rod punch. So we shipped it off to John Cossey Racing, where they went through it, balanced and blueprinted it, and completely rebuilt it with performance in mind. Because, well, that's what John Cossey does. They will rebuild anything you want to send them, from full-on race engines to hot street performance. When it came to the induction system, we wanted something unique, but it still had to have the right classic look. So we went to the Driven Man for this electronic fuel injection system. Now this looks like triple Weber carbs, but these are throttle bodies. Then they've got all the linkage, the manifolds, everything to make this a complete bolt-on fuel injection system for the Jag Straight 6. So how does it run, you ask? Well, when Cossey put this thing on the dyno, it pulled 250 horsepower and 315 foot-pounds of torque. And that's the magic of the Straight 6, a lot of torque. Now I know those aren't big V8 numbers, but that's a lot for a Straight 6. And this engine, in that light little car, man, that is gonna be a blast to drive. Now, I know you're probably wondering what transmission is going to go behind that Jag engine. And for that, we went back to the Driven Man, because they specialize in transmission conversions for Jaguars, Austin Healey's, and 60s Mercedes SLs. For example, this is a transmission for an E-Type Jag. Now notice, it's a T5 5-speed, but it has a custom input shaft. You have the right flange back here for the stock drive shaft. You have your speedometer in the stock location, you got your shifter in the stock location, and you have 3 different choices for your overdrive. So this is a bolt-in and go deal. Now it utilizes an aluminum bell housing. You can utilize the original shift fork, or you can use the hydraulic throwout bearing. And for a flywheel, you can go with a lightweight aluminum one or a much heavier billet steel one. And both of these will work with a 9.5-inch or 10-inch clutch, whichever way you want to do it. Now, since our car is a little bit of everything, they put together a custom system for us. Once again, it's a T5, but we have more room, so it's got the longer tail shaft, but it's got this special conversion to bring the shifter up where it needs to go. Then we have a little Austin Healey shift lever and a Jag knob. So We got a little bit of everything going in this car.
And now, Parts Bin.
You know, if you work on cars very much, you know that eventually you're going to have to cut some metal, which means you're going to have the right saw, which can be a little daunting because there's a lot of them out there. Well, sawblade.com has got a whole bunch of choices designed right for you, the guy working in his garage. Check this out. Now, for a vertical bandsaw, they've got the 1408, which is a nice compact size. It is 110 powered, so it'll plug into any outlet, but it still has enough power to cut whatever you want to cut. Now, it has a variable speed blade, so you can dial in what you want to cut. You have a little air feed right here that not only keeps the blade cool, but keeps all the debris off of it. And you even have a way here to weld up a new blade, so you can actually buy the blades in bulk and save yourself some money. Now, if this is just too big, well, they've also got some smaller stuff here that is completely portable. This way you can cut tubing, you can cut smaller stock, and be able to take the saw with you. If you want some professional level cutting tools that are affordable and are still something that you can move around, not take up a lot of space, you got to go to sawblade.com because they got the answer. If you own a 92 to 97 Ford F250 or F350, well, you know they're awesome trucks, but they're notorious for rusting the core support, and it's almost impossible to find a replacement until now, because LMC has come out with a replacement core support for those big Fords. Now check this out. As you can see, it's got all the stampings in the right place, it's got the bracing, it's got the welds in the right place, you've got the threaded inserts, you've got the bolts in place. Basically, all you have to do is take your old one out and bolt this one in place. You know, most of us like to keep our old trucks on the road, and with replacement parts like this, LMC makes it possible. It's no secret that getting clean, cold air into your engine is always a plus. And if you've got a performance car like a modern Camaro, man, it's mandatory. That's why Holley has come out with this Intech cold air intake for the 2016 on-up Camaros. Now look at this. This is pretty simple. It's just a high-flowing, washable, reusable air filter. You have a high-flowing intake tube, and then just a filter box. And that's it. Almost. Because when Holley put one of these on a car on a dyno, they picked up 18 horsepower. That's like free power. This is so easy to put on. Listen, you got to change your air filter anyway. You might as well put on one of these cold air intakes from Holley and pick up a little power at the same time. You know, some of the biggest challenges that you're going to face when you're working in a shop is keeping your tools with you when you're working and getting light up into those dark areas so you can see what you're doing. Well, the guys at Mechanic Products has got a couple of things here that you're going to want to have. First of all is what they call the Sidekick Stool. Now, this is a heavy-duty stool, nice solid base, got a good pad on the top, and it sets you right at the right height to be doing brakes or working down the side of a vehicle. Then you've got nice deep drawers to hold tools or other things in. You got a rack back here where you can stick screwdrivers or pliers in, and if you even need more space, you got these side panels that come down so you can even hold more junk. Then, what about when you're working underneath a vehicle on a creeper? Well, they've got this called the tool creeper that works just like the creeper that you're going to be on. Put your tools in there, you got places here for nuts and bolts, and it will slide everywhere so you can just keep it right there with you. Now, as far as lights, check out this light. This is a whole different design in lighting. It has a magnetic base. It will go 360 degrees so you can point it anywhere you want, so you can put it anywhere you want. If you've always wondered where those cool tools are that will actually help you in the shop, Mechanic Products got some stuff that you're going to want to have.
What are you working on? Brought to you by Woodward Fabrication, selling quality metalworking equipment since 1966.
Today's What Are You Working On comes from Chris Todd from Burnett, Texas. And Chris is a rock crawler guy, but not quite what you're thinking, because the rock crawler he has is only about this big and it came in a box. Yeah, Chris is a scale radio control modeler, just like what you've seen here. And the model he's putting together is called the Bomber. Check this thing out. First, the kit allows you to completely assemble the axles with all the gears and everything, then the frame and the suspension, and then of course the motor, the electronics, and all the controls you got to put together yourself as well. As you can see, this is not just toy store stuff. This is the real deal. And Chris says the reason he likes it is that you can do a pro stock car, a drifter car, a rock crawler, construction equipment, acrobatic airplanes. It's all out there and you can afford it. It's not like you have to buy the real thing. Well, Chris, one thing we always say is a gearhead is a gearhead. It doesn't matter what you're working on. So we hooked up with our buddies at Woodward Fab, and we're going to give you one of these vices because I know you're going to have a use for that somewhere. And then we're also going to give you one of our Gearz t-shirts and a project planning book, because this will also work for radio control projects, not just the big stuff. And then, of course, we're going to give you one of these O'Reilly gift cards, because it'll definitely come in handy when you need parts for your full-size cars and trucks. All right, for the rest of you guys, if you want to get in on this, get your vehicle featured on the show, no matter what it is, got to go to the website, go to Gearz Nation, go to What Are You Working On, and submit your project. The website's also the place to find out more information on any products you may have seen on the show, any Gearz merchandise, and how to join Gearz Nation so you can stream any of our episodes commercial-free. Finally, don't forget to like us on Facebook so you can get some behind-the-scenes footage of our weekly web series, Shifting Gears. All right, that wraps it up for us today. Obviously, I have a lot of stuff to work on here. Hopefully, you've got a project to work on. If you don't, you need to get out and find something, whether it's big, whether it's smaller, whether it's some little tiny thing. It doesn't matter as long as you're working on it with your own hands. We'll see you next time.